What evil lurks in the dark? A question we have all asked ourselves many times. Together, we can start uncovering the truth and mystery behind the darker side of the otherworldly. And now your host of See You in the Dark, Michelle Roos.
Good evening to all of you out there listening tonight. And we're going a little different direction tonight. You know, we've always talked about self care. And what does that look like? You know, when we're talking self care, because of all the negativity that's out there, whether you're in the paranormal field or not, you know, we kind of forget the inner side of ourselves. You know, we take self care by taking our showers, brushing our teeth, but we've never taken care of our spirit or our souls. You know, we talk about we have to put protection around us. We have to either carry crystals or do smudging and different things. And, you know, we don't know what does that really look like? How does that affect different people? You know, what is that piece of my calling of what do I want? Just like I love crystals, and there's only a couple that I can actually handle. The rest um, doesn't make me feel that good. So I don't use those and have to kind of, you know, guide myself in different directions to find what fits me. And so I decided, you know, as we're talking about this, you know, what better way of actually getting that message out there to maybe answer some of those questions you might have had for yourself? How do I choose the right thing? Does Reiki really work for me? Or should I be looking at different things like that? Should I be getting readings? Maybe I shouldn't. So, you know, I have been very honored to know three most beautiful women out there that might actually have some of these answers for you. Some of it for maybe the darker side of things, the lighter side of things. I've known one of these ladies for a very long time. She's very dear to my heart. And let me just put it this way, she knows her crap. So, you know, talking to her sometimes gives me those aha moments. But they are known as the good witches. They are Tori, Makayla, and Sara, and I would love to bring them in right now, and so we can get this conversation going. Hello, beautiful ladies. How are you?
Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Um, one, first, I want to thank you guys for coming on the show. Um, you know, when we talk about the paranormal field, anything from the good, the bad, and the ugly, you know, we always bring up, and every show you listen to is, you know, how do you protect yourself or how do you spiritually keep yourself cleansed? But there's never been a definitive type of answer of really digging deep into that. You know, we always go with, well, we're going to get tarot readings or we're going to get Reiki, and it's supposed to be a fix all for everybody. But I kind of feel like that's not all true. And knowing kind of what you three do has really piqued my interest of how you look into this stuff. And, you know, you talk about, you know, healing spiritually, like a spiritual wellness, not just, hey, you know, let's just get some Reiki and give you some crystals and call it a day. So, if Makayla, if you want to get us started about a little bit how you guys got kind of going and how you do a little bit of your stuff, I would really appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. I would be happy to do that. Um, obviously, thank you so much for having us on. We're very excited. So, the Good Witches kind of formed. I like to say, I'm going to beat a dead horse, but a Gemini, a Sagittarius, and a Scorpio walked into a metaphysical shop and said, did we just become best friends? So, we kind of met in the same area and bonded over some of very similar experiences and viewpoints on the ethereal and metaphysical side of things. And then one day we were just sitting down to lunch, and I was like, hey, what about the good witches? How can we serve people? How can we help together using all of our strengths? And then it hasn't even been a full year since that conversation. And here we are now helping so many more people. So we focus on being able to bring your spiritual wellness needs to you, or connect you with what your spirit needs and what your soul needs in a way that's attainable for as many people as possible, especially when you're talking about putting forth that monetary energetic exchange. How can we make that affordable for you? And spiritual wellness is a right. It's not a privilege. So that's kind of the gist of how it all got started and our perspective on it. So I'm sure the other girls can help expand on that as well.
Yeah, I like how you put a Scorpio, a Gemini, and a Sagittarius walk into a metaphysical store. Yeah, and we all came friends, and that's pretty much how it was. And we all just sat down and said, yeah, let's make this a thing. And we just put our money where our mouth is, sort of speak, and opened up our own brick and mortar. And now we're helping more people than we ever thought we could.
That's amazing. And so, there's a lot of stores out there. There's a lot of people online and different things, if they just throw out pretty much what they have and people just kind of feed into it. Do
Mm.
you guys come from, like a different view? I mean, like
Yeah.
when you go to a doctor, your nurses kind of do the pre-check-in and all that. So this way, they kind of know what the doctor's going to start dealing with. Is that kind of the way you guys do things when you're working with people?
Well, I'm known as the no BS medium, and Makayla and Sara are kind of the same thing. We are no BS. We'll tell you how it is. We don't beat around the bush, and we're like HIPAA. What happens in our cottage stays in our cottage, and we don't go, bragging and telling stories. We just do our jobs. So a person comes in and has a problem, we evaluate, and we see what we can do. Not just your basic average stuff, but what can we read? With me, I can read auras. I can read your. You come in, I can see your dead people. It depends on the person. So each of us brings something different to the table. And
Yeah,
but yes,
I think that, the way that we all work is, there's none of us feel that there's a competition with each other. We really all just work together. So, as Tori was saying, like, if somebody comes in and they say, this is what's going on in my life, how do you help me? As you said, like kind of like a nurse's aspect, we would go together, we would discuss the manner as a team and say, Tori, I really think that she would need your type of services best first. And then after that, maybe she would get some help doing some self-love with Sara, and we break it down. So like, how can we serve this individual person as a whole, and not just there to like, hey, here's a tarot reading and then go on about your day and deal with it. Like we really want to help make spiritual healing and wellness achievable and affordable and accessible to everybody who comes into our door.
yeah,
See, and that's amazing. Now I have to ask this question because I ask a lot of people. We all come from love and light anyways. But is that something that you kind of push down people's throats? And the reason I'm asking this, because a lot of people, and Tori will know where I'm going with this. Even when Tori's been on events with me and we notice there's some negativity, and a lot of people, instead of trying to figure out what that negativity is to clean it up, it's pretty much let's do a Care Bear stare, and then everything becomes love and light. Is that kind of something what you guys do too, or do you go in and say, you know what, this crap is bad, it's going to take some work, we're about to peel your skin off and we're going to rebuild you?
Hmm.
I think it depends on the case.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, some people just need to be scrubbed down to the surface. You know what I mean? Like they just got
Yeah.
so much smuck and muck and ick on them that you just have to like rip them down to the core. But then, it's really case by case. But like, I think we come at things at a gentle approach and really kind of try to get to know our customers. And, that's one thing with having like our more intimate Good Witch pages that we have, and we encourage people to come in and just have those conversations with us. Like, we're not always there just to like necessarily give you a paid for service. We want to do diligence to you. And
Mhm.
so we really just, everybody's case by case, but with being the BS medium Tori is, I mean, sometimes she's just like, yeah, no, like that's just not going to friggin' work, and we just have to like be blunt because sometimes you just can't like tiptoe around the things. You got to just like, you got to go to work. Otherwise, it's just not going to work.
No, I totally agree. And that's kind of refreshing to hear because there is so many out there that actually do that kind of stuff. And I feel like, we're not giving the correct service because when people are coming to have some kind of service done because whether they think there's an attachment or anything like that, I feel like, that should be treated on the spiritual side just like we would if we just did the physical side.
Right.
And
Yeah.
a lot of people, they don't catch that, it's kind of like, oh, okay, I'm just going to do this, or I'm going to just give you part of a reading because you might not want to hear the other part. And it's becoming such a thing now that sometimes when you do something for someone and you're telling that truth, they want to do a kickback because it's like, well, I just want to hear the happy stories.
Yeah. You can't
Uh,
solve everything with a good hug all the time.
No.
It's great to look at somebody and say, there's so much good around you. There's so many good things that you're doing. There's just all this light and love. And that is the true side. But you can't have that without other things wanting to try and feed off of that because it is such good power for other entities, if you will. So we're definitely the type that if we see it, we're going to call it out. And we don't want to scare anybody by any means, but like there's stuff out there. You need to be sure that you're taking the proper spiritual hygiene, if you will, to make
Yeah.
sure everything's clear. So yeah, you will get a hug and cute little things because we want to make you feel good and feel encouraged, but we're not going to not tell you something if something's there, That's not doing your
Yeah.
service.
I agree with that, especially nowadays where people think Lilith is everything and Hecate is everywhere and everyone. And it's like, no, people, you got to do your research and you got to work on yourself. So sometimes it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows,
No, it's really
but
not. It's like less than that. People think that it is rainbows and sunshine all the time. And it's like, no, 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 no. Like you can't have that light without working through those dark things.
dark
So
things. Yep.
sometimes we have to go there in order to get them to that higher place they want to be at.
And Michelle, I know where you were going. Like you have always said that I deliver the love notes. Well, sometimes the love notes aren't that lovable. Sometimes somebody comes in and their loved one is kind of miffed at something and wants to bring up something, else and bring up a fact that the client may not want to hear, but we are going to say because I don't wash back anything. No,
Mhm.
no matter what, I say it how it is, and that's how it is for me.
No, that makes sense. And again, like I said before, it's very refreshing to know that, because there is a lot of good out there. It's
Mhm.
just now peeling the surface through everything that's out in our environment itself, that it just kind of sticks to all of us like gunk. And, and again, soap can only do so much. Epsom salt can only do so much,
Right.
and it's kind of one of those, people are looking for truth. there hasn't been truth out there for so long that, it's really hard to get to around people who would actually do that. And that's kind of what I've been focusing on, a lot of different things. I mean, we've talked about the paranormal of like locations. If there's negative there, they don't want to talk about it. And so we're constantly trying to put a cover over negative stuff like it doesn't exist. And I think that's what is absorbing people more and more because of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
and I
call
Absolutely.
think
that.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's just called toxic positivity.
Yes.
Mm, yes.
Yeah, let's call a
It's
spade, folks.
Yes.
I definitely think you guys remember earlier today we do our weekly live every Tuesday on our page, and my card I pulled for the collective today was the truth
Oh,
card.
yeah.
And that came up so many times and many readings with our followers today too. Like, there's just something to be said about the truth. Like, why are we always running from the truth when that's the thing that's really going to set you free? Like, you can hide and pretend that whatever's happening isn't happening, but the truth is then it's never going to go away, and it's just going to get worse. So we're going to bring that to you, because at the end of the day, we want to help you. We want to make things better for you. And I feel like if we slid that under the table, and tried to like be a little softer about it, we're doing them a disservice. We're
Mhm.
not doing our service to spirit then. And so I think all of us really honor that. And we want to bring that truth to the table so we can help you get past that.
No, that's kind of how it needs to be. And I think more and more is going to start coming out that way.
Mhm.
Like you said, if we don't have the truth, how are you going to help yourself?
You just
And I
can't.
feel like, yeah, because we have been covering it up for so long. I mean, in anything, our everyday lives,
Yeah.
you constantly want to throw that positivity out there. I mean, that's just how we're all triggered. But at the same time, you know, here's the question, your thoughts. Doing so that way, do you feel that we are feeding the negativity more because of putting out false positives and not looking at that truth, that's why it's starting to become more and more of this grayish, gunky
Mm,
stuff out there?
Yeah.
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 Sarah, you take this one. Yeah.
Oh, I'm just shaking my head. I don't even know if I have words necessarily. I just am in agreement. Like, I
Yeah.
very much think so. We can't, I'm pretty a raw person with my personal experiences and my feelings and the way I live my life. And, I've really learned that I can't preach to others, to be their true rawest, highest expression of themselves if I don't show up that way in my own life. And so I really try to live by that. And so, I'm pretty honest in, our lives every week we show up and, we're here talking about the collective and the energies and all these things. And there's many weeks, and today one of them, I will share, today I'm not well. I have a lot on my plate today. I am spiritually exhausted. However, I'm still going to show up and do the things, and put my best effort forward, because I can just sit here and pretend that my life is fine and lie about it, but then I'm not showing up authentically myself. And so I really try to live that way in my own life. I mean, things are always hard. Everybody always has trouble. Just because we are healers and witches and all of these things you want to call us doesn't mean that we don't live in those shadows someday too. We are
Mhm.
real people living the same spiritual lifestyle as you are, and I'm not going to pretend that these things don't happen to us. So I live in a more truthful space, so I expect to work in a truthful space and bring truth to my clients.
Yeah.
And
I,
Michelle, I'm sorry, Makayla, but Michelle, I think if we keep bearing the truth and bearing the dark aspects of anything, I'm
Yeah.
talking paranormal, I'm talking collective, in real life, if we keep, softening the dark, it's going to get darker because
Darker.
it's going to be
Mhm.
this toxic, ugly good And so it's not going to do anybody any good to just to keep lying. And that's what we three emanate, because I don't like to say the word hate, but we really don't like liars.
I
And
hate
we
liars.
try to do our best, you know, to say, be the truth and be the truth that we are.
Yeah, Tori, that's so right. And Sarah, you said it perfect too. I think if you just stop acknowledging too your part in the darkness and where you could use improvement too, that is just feeding it as well. It's feeding the darkness inside of you and it's feeding the darkness around you. I generally take this perspective of like, if you acknowledge the dark sees you, and it will find you. So if you show up in fear, then it will definitely feed off of that too.
Oh God,
So
that's so true.
it is
Yes,
true.
that's
And
so true.
when you're attacking the dark inside of you, it's just acknowledging that its presence is there, but you're acknowledging it from a place of not fear, but kind of like, I see you and I know how to make this better. And then I think that darkness gets a little bit scared because of you're standing in your power.
Yes.
And Makayla, the way you just said that, so like then that makes me think about like totally opposite things. So, the name of your show, about the dark and are you afraid of the dark? Like I think about like when I was a kid, like and you're afraid of the dark. And if you go into the dark fearful, like seriously, I'm 10 times more scared. Or if I open that basement door and I'm like, I'm not afraid of you ghosts, like I'm just thinking like when I was a little kid and I used to be so afraid to run up my steps because they were like under the basement, the ones that like they go upstairs, but the underneath is the basement. And I was terrified that somebody would grab my feet. And like at one point in my life, I was just like, I'm not scared anymore. And then like I wasn't scared anymore. So it's so interesting how that metaphor can mean so many different things, but the same thing,
Love it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, we have to realize, you have to have that balance, and you got to find that balance, whether it's from the inner you or from what is outside, to make sure that you can actually walk on those both sides. Because if you think about it, we all walk both sides.
Yeah.
We have to, because that's how, we're able to navigate. But again, a lot of people have a hard time doing that balance. And, they feed into one or the other too much. And yes, if you give negativity a lot of energy, it can grow because it starts doing the oppression side of doing that. But then I've also seen where people give so much positivity and they forget about it, like you said, not giving it the energy, but it also can feed on that because it's false positives.
Yeah.
And
And it feeds on the lies. Yeah.
yeah, so it tears us, but we're human. I mean, we all run off of emotions and we have more of those than we have anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So, so in that situation, let's put that together, a couple things, how would you try to approach that? So let's say I'm coming to you and I am constantly doing the Care Bear stare. I am just as positive as can be, but knowing there's so much darkness around me because I've never come out with the truth. What would be the first thing any of you guys would do to kind of get me in a situation where we need to start talking?
Hmm.
That is a
Well,
tough one.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, if you came in the store,
Because
if you came in the store right away, one of us will see it and just grab you. I mean,
Uh,
we don't let. I mean, I don't read without um authorization, without permission, but I can feel it off you. I can see it in your aura, and if it's that bad, I can see it on you. So I'll let you browse the store, but I'm gonna pull you over, give you a hug, and say, okay, Miss Positive, what's really up? What's wrong? Because it's really not so ducky as you're claiming it to be.
I agree with you, Tori, but then at the same time, I'm also the kind of person that You know, you can't help somebody who isn't willing to see what they need help with. And so
Fair.
sometimes, you know, it's just showing awareness that like Tori said, you know, we see this, I'm going to bring you awareness to it, you know, but like when you're ready to acknowledge what really is, then let's talk, you know, and kind of plant that seed for them to come back for when they're ready. Because typically people who live like that, they're not ready to just like see the other side right there, right now when somebody calls them out. You know, you have to kind of baby step people like that because they have those blinders on and they can't see the other things, you know?
You're
No,
right.
I totally agree. We'll be right back to continue with our conversation and ask a couple more questions. But we're going to take a quick break and be right back.
Okay.
The Onyx Network classes and workshops are enrolling now for 2025. If you're interested in psychic protection, chakra balancing, dowsing, or perhaps healing with sound and music, visit onyxnetwork.com to see our complete series of live and on-demand classes and workshops hosted by the one and only Margie K. For example, in January 2025, you could spend 4 Saturdays with Margie for her exclusive live remote viewing workshop. Margie K is one of the most accomplished remote viewers in the world, and she will share her secrets and totally unique methods in this course. Some courses are open now. Seating is limited for these live courses, so register now at unxnetwork.com. Unx members use promo code XMEM for an additional 15% discount.
Debbie Ziegelmeyer is an experienced diver, dive trainer, and UFO investigator who has researched sites around the world that have water-related UFO activity. We now know that even the Pentagon admits that there are unknown objects in the skies and underwater around the world. Debbie compiled an amazing book to catalog many of these sightings. The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways, a reference guide to UFO, USO, water-related activity, has received rave reviews by UFO researchers and the public. The book is available at Amazon.com.
And welcome back. We have been talking with the good witches, Tori, Makayla, and Sara. And we're just going to bring them back in the show because this has kind of been getting interesting, you know, to actually hear how, you know, it's not, hey, I'm just going to walk in somewhere or I'm going to go on Messenger, get charged some money, hear that my grandmama is so happy with me, and then call it a day. You know, what we're talking about, like you guys have said, you know, the spiritual side of the wellness side of that piece. Can you kind of let our listeners know a little bit what that looks like? You know, what does that entail and how do you guys approach it and go from point A to point B to point B?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, it would always start with the reach out to us, whether that's stopping by the cottage just to have a conversation. And really, the way that we like to help you is we just want to have a conversation with you. We want to get to know, you know, what your values are, what you find important, and maybe some areas where like you're struggling. And we like to figure out what works best for you. So if you're having issues with, you know, like your optimism, for example, well, we might have you hold a couple of different stones. How are you sensitive to the vibrations of various rocks and crystals? Or are you more of an aromatics type of person? Or do you just need someone to give you communication, like you're lonely for something or someone that's passed on, so do you need that communication? Or do you just need someone to help you and show you how to adjust the energy centers in your body? So we really, of course, we really just want to get to know you, who you are, how you're receptive to that, because each person's spiritual wellness is their own individual journey. And we can't just do a one size fits all. I hope that answers the question.
Mhm.
Yes, it did. It did. So do you guys all three come with the same approach, or do you guys all have maybe your own little thing that you do?
I think we all have our own little thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm the more brascious, if that's a word.
No.
Right? Yeah, right. Right. I'm the more blunt out of the three of us. I'll just come out because if spirit's nagging me, I work for spirit. I don't work for anybody else. So if spirit's nagging me, I'm gonna say it. So that's my thing. You're gonna get you're gonna get it from me. You're
I
gonna
kind of
get.
know that.
And yeah, and for me, I really work with, the divine feminine. I work with women mostly, not that I don't or won't work with men, just called more to work with women. And so I do a lot of like womb healing and relationship and intimacy style, like coaching, things like that. I like to bring people joy and passion and help them kind of get to living at a higher level, a higher frequency in their overall life, so everybody can achieve more, better spiritual wellness.
Yeah. And for my side, I'm very much like Divine Mother. I work with different pantheons, and I'm always drawn towards the mother deity, the great mother deity. So I just want to provide comfort for people while also like acknowledging, your mama's not going to tell you, oh, everything will be okay, sweetie. She's going to look at you and she's going to say, yeah, this really kind of sucks right now. But you know what you're going to do? You're going to do the work. Now here's what you're going to do and give the step by step. So I like people to be comfortable first to share with me because I don't ever want to pry. But realize that once you do kind of come out with what's going on, I'm going to give you a couple options, but there's some hard truth that you need to acknowledge. And then how can we get to the state of where you feel better?
Mm-hmm.
See, and that's really great because it gives people those options, just like I had said earlier in the show. Do I like looking at crystals and stuff? Oh God, they're beautiful and all this, and I want to touch them. But crystals really don't do nothing for me. So I can't go in and just pick some and say, okay, I'm all good. And so that one size fits all doesn't work for some of us people, but there's a lot of people out there that want to do that. Everybody has to fit in that box. So it's really great knowing that you guys all have your own little ways of figuring things out and bringing it into one.
Yeah,
So
we
it's
definitely don't
definitely a
fit in
sisterhood. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we don't
Mhm.
fit in a box.
Now, I don't fit in a box by no means. Um, I'm some kind of special, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean.
Yep.
Aren't we all?
Art.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh man.
And I think that the type of items that we have at our cottage for retail kind of fit what we are talking about as in our services and the way we approach things too. We're not just there to push crystals. A lot of metaphysical stores just have 700 crystals and know absolutely nothing about them. They're just there to make the sale. And we really kind of handpick the items that come into our
Mhm.
cottage. They're items that we find that will benefit the type of work that we do. They also are type of items that fit our core values. Like a lot of the things I make, I work with a lot of recyclable materials and I upcycle jewelry and art out of scraps and things that I find at thrift and vintage stores. I like to give back and be kind to our earth. And so, just our core values go so deep. They're not just what we teach and we preach and we bring to our customers, they're also what we sell. So if you come
Mhm.
in and you're having one issue or another, we might say, like Makayla said, maybe crystals aren't your thing. Have you worked with smudging? Do you need to cleanse your home? Makayla can walk you through a guide of how to do a proper cleansing in your home and then send them home with the proper type of floral smudge stick or incense stick or, whatever it might be. We've got sprays and all different types of things. So we have so many different types of modalities of healing divinations within the store to really fit anybody's, cup of tea or where they're at in their spirituality.
Hmm.
Very nice, very nice. And that is a huge deal because I it's hard for me to go into one of those stores. Because I think a lot of the crystals trap a lot of the different energies that come in,
Yeah.
and I get slapped in the face. That it actually messes with me physically, where I feel sick or I feel like and one of the merry-go-round things.
Mm-hmm.
And so, sometimes I think, less is more, and that's what people are looking for now more days.
Mm.
They want that intimate part of it. They want to be able to, trust that person they're always working with. And that speaks volumes of what you guys are doing. And now do you guys also do you do everything at the store, or do you also do private things like if somebody wanted to reach out to you on Messenger and says, "Hey, I need some help." Do you guys make calls? I mean, is there anything else you guys do in that aspect?
Yeah, you can reach out to any one of us individually. I know a lot of times people are drawn to certain individuals' energy and it jives better. So we can receive group messages or individual messages to us, and we're always willing to have that conversation to see, do you need us to come into your home? Do you need us to meet you at a coffee shop because you're not comfortable somewhere else? And I think we were just discussing today someone wanting to work with the three of us kind of on a monthly basis. So what does that look like for that person too?
Yeah.
Um, for sure.
And if we can't do something, we make the calls to find out how we can help that person. We're not
Yes.
just going to leave you high and dry. We're going to do our best to find somebody to help you. We're not just going to leave you.
Nice. Now, before you guys get started doing your stuff every day, do you guys all have like your own little rituals you do to get
Mm.
yourself prepped?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does that look like?
Mm.
Yeah, Tori, do you want
Music
to go
and
first?
Yeah, music and driving. I start the day off usual, and then when I'm coming to the cottage, I have an hour drive. So I take that time to just hone in and channel a lot. But every day, I'm always going into spirit. Every time I wake up, I'm always going to spirit first.
Yeah, I think the same with me too. So I've been doing this practice for a while. The holidays caught up with me and I wasn't able to do as much as I wanted, but we're back at it here. I always start my day with, washing the face, splash the night away, splash the dreams away. And then with just like a yoga flow to sink into my body, because I have a lot of like lucid dreams and lots of communications within my dreams. So I need to sink into my body. But then I'm also doing like a self Reiki energy cycling right away in the morning. And then as I get ready, as I get dressed, I use these amazing, and I mean, I'm such a physical person. I think that comes a lot with my mother energy. I want to touch the thing. I want to feel the thing. I want to know it's there. But my morning always starts with using a dragon's blood infused body wipe to remove any attachments that I might have had as I astrally traveled. And then I'm using like a psychic boosting oil on my third eye and one other herbal oil. It's a St. Michael's oil. And I use that to protect myself just from anything that might be out there. And then, I mean, like I said, I really like the physical. It's a nice physical reminder that I have that strength and that I have that ability to communicate with these items to enhance my protection and my manifestation. So I've got a bunch of pocket stones and I go through that process.
Yeah, I got that
I
too.
think we all are filled with pocket stones. You know, we've
Yeah.
got them in every crevice. Yeah, my mornings are usually somewhat similar to theirs. I have little kids that are in my house, which if it starts getting loud in the back room, they just came home. I was hoping we would get to the end, but they are home, so we'll hope that holds up. Anyways, so my mornings can be very chaotic. They can be different. So I don't always get to follow, my routine the way I like to. But on the days that work in my favor, I really like to do a lot of embodiment practices. I like to just be present in my body, as Makayla mentioned, like yoga flows and things like that, to really just get connected and grounded. One thing that we do all do as well that is similar is when we go into our cottage and we open, we have kind of ritual purposes that we do upon opening that and upon closing every night that also help, we practice these things in our homes every day, these cleansing and intentional choosing of crystals that we carry with us for the day and mindful things that we do here. Our cottage is our home away from home now. And so we've now brought our rituals from our home into the cottage. So we all have little things that we do. We blow cinnamon in every single day when we open, to help with prosperity and abundance, and Palo Santo to bring in, the positivity and all of the good things. And then we sage it and clear it all out, or dragon's blood, or whatever is called for in the evening, and do some cleansing on the way out. So we definitely all have very similar ritual patterns. I think it just depends on the day and the time and where we're going on what
Yeah,
rituals we do.
definitely.
Now, do any of you guys do remote viewings, remote readings?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
All
all
of
our
Okay.
us do.
services. Yeah, all of
o-
us do.
Okay. So, like, if people are trying to contact you, like on Facebook or website, do you guys have any of that?
Well, I have Tori Rock psychicmedium.com, or you can DM me on my Facebook page. And then we have the Good Witches Cottage and the Good Witches page that they can message us. And if they need any services, we'll be gladly help.
Okay, great, great. And again, before we end tonight, I'll make sure you guys will talk about the Good Witches page and stuff so that people know how to get a hold of you, if they need to. Um, the rituals are great. I love that the self-care, you guys practice what you preach.
Mhm.
And that's also a big thing. We can all light up incense and sit next to it and throw cards in front of us or whatever, and say, okay, I'm spiritually cleansed, so now I'm going to give you a reading that could be pretty much all my sludge getting slapped on you. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there if people are listening. When it comes to taking care of yourself, especially your inner spirits, you you need to take that a little more serious. Again, it's not like, some people can go out and get generic soap, but this cannot be generic,
Mm,
because now you're dealing with something that's, your inner self. And that's kind of what you want to bring to light, because everybody wants to have that 5 minutes of fame, or that $5, that people are getting trapped into some really bad things. And so, to be able to know that you guys practice what you're going to be telling those people will actually make a huge difference.
Yeah.
So, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate that you guys take everything case by case. Not everybody fits in a box. That is also very important. And, I'm trying to recap some of the stuff that you guys have said so the listeners out there know that if they get a hold of you, they're getting a hold of the real deal.
mhm.
Yep. And I think too, you know, um, a lot of people can get trapped in these. I mean, you can call them metaphysical traps or spiritual wellness traps, whatever you'd like to call them. And there are a lot of smart people out there who know that, and they have predetermined plans no matter who walks in the door.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got a price point that is through the roof. Um, and that just, we feel like that is just, I mean, it's just gross. You're not healing anybody when you're gouging them. Spiritual wellness, like I said before, it's a right. And what we have for you, the energetic exchange we ask is, it's a lot more accessible. And don't get into those traps where you're spending $400 on something and somebody gives you 20 minutes of their time and 3 recommendations and doesn't ask you any questions.
Yes. And
Exactly.
Makayla, to piggyback off that, one of the biggest things that I have seen the last how many years, especially since so many people had to start working remotely through COVID and all of those things, is, we're there's so many people online who will just random people reach out to you, and say, oh, I have, a message for you. Your grandmother came forward. I need to talk to you now. And there's all of this like complete spiritual gouging all over the internet of people who, like Makayla said, they already have a plan of what they're going to say. They just have to find somebody to say it to who's willing to pay that money. And then they suck you in. And, some of it might resonate. I'm sure it possibly could, but realistically, these people are just there with an end goal to take your money. They're not there for your spiritual wellness. And that's just something that we completely set ourselves aside for. We very, very rarely will reach out to you, even if we see something from afar. Unless
Yeah.
you're ready to reach out to us, we are not going to message you and ask you for money. If that would ever happen for our account, please let us know, because somebody has hacked us, because that's just not how any of us work. In fact, we sometimes have to remind ourselves that we do have to charge for things, and we can't do everything for free.
No, we can't,
Yep.
unfortunately.
Yep.
Yes, because that's very hard for us, because we want everybody to have the access to the type of care and the help that they should need. And we just don't believe in gouging, because then you're just making them have more stress on top of already a distressed person who's came to you. So we really like to work with our customers and help in any way we can, even if it's not a financial exchange that you can do. We will find something to give you to get you started and point you in direction.
Hmm. Yeah, and nowadays, to piggyback off of Sarah, ever since 2020 and the vid, and working at home, yeah, these people just get in your DMs and being like, hey, the biggest one, and not besides your grandmother, is you have a curse on you.
Oh,
No,
yes, that one's a lot.
that
Yes.
and no, we don't do that. We don't, it's just ridiculous. So we're the real deal, and we'll give you what you need, not what you we'll give what you need, not what you think you need.
Sure.
Have you had a lot of people come to you guys thinking they had a curse, and you
Oh
guys can tell
God.
they don't have one? How do
Every
you
day.
deal with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I hate to say it. Sarah's right every day.
I mean,
Yeah.
everybody thinks they've been hexed or cursed. I mean, they just, you have bad luck, and they're like, I swear my family's cursed. And it's just like, most people have no idea what that really means.
Mm.
And so, it's a common conversation, I would say. Yes.
The biggest curse is the one you've put on yourself through repeated
Yeah.
patterns of
Ooh,
bad behavior, my friends.
Oh,
go
girl.
Makayla.
Yes.
No, and that's the thing, they say a lot of times if somebody just says they put a curse on you, you're actually building your own curse because you feed into it,
Yeah.
Yes.
and then so you actually kind of manifest your own curse at that point. And that's what I'm saying. You guys are talking about the healing and bringing people to the right direction and all that kind of stuff. When they're in there and they're so adamant that it's a curse and nothing else, how do you guys pivot through that to get to that core where they need to start doing it for themselves?
Oh,
Lay out
yeah.
the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kindly look them in the eyes and say, sweetheart, we love you. You are the problem, my friend. So what do you think? In the nicest way possible.
Nicest way
They're
possible.
convinced. They're convinced they have this curse. And you're like, all the tests, because there are certain ways that we believe can identify them. Everything has shown me that you're really not. So tell me about your habits. What do you notice you're repeatedly doing? And a lot of times people just need to talk to somebody about things that they can't make sense of, and they
Yeah.
just need a different perspective to change their behavior.
Yeah.
Those are pretty
Absolutely
wise
correct.
words. Well, and that's the same when I get called in on doing certain things, when they are so adamant that it is what it is, trying to kind of navigate around that to figure out, okay, what verbiage, because, you're telling the truth, but well, how do you change that verbiage or what actions do you do to kind of start bringing them where you need them to actually help them? Because they
Yeah.
are wanting to help, but, like you said, with the internet, there's so much out there. I mean, look
Mm.
at WebMD. By the time you're done reading 2 paragraphs, you're gonna be dead,
Oh
Yeah.
my
you
God, that
know?
I'm dead every week. I have to stay
Yeah.
Yeah,
off those things. Every time I have a symptom, I'm like, I'm gonna die, you guys. I'm dead.
yeah, and but you think about it, but it's also in the field. It's also in the metaphysical field,
Yeah.
It is.
let me start looking this up or let me look this up, and by the end, you've got a gypsy curse on you that was, 5 generations back,
Yep.
even knowing that's not even your family tree, but damn it, it's true,
Yep.
Yeah.
and so I
I
know
think
when
that's where
I'm help
Tori comes in handy, because then we can have Tori be like, hey, Tori, you got to tell this whack that this is not true, And so she's the one we would have to hound on that situation.
Yeah, I mean, I've been there, done that, and like I said, when and then, you get thrown, well, then you don't know what you're talking about, and it's like, "What, excuse me?" So it's kind of like, how much more truth do you want? I mean, the only other thing I can do is take off my white glove and slap you across the face to see if that even will get a reaction, you
Fair.
know?
Yep.
Or
Yes.
is so, and it's a difficult situation for everyone,
Yep.
and I could see sending, Tori in to kind of say, okay, yeah, you're whacked. No, this is not how this is.
Yeah.
But, people's feelings get hurt very easily. And then, of
Yeah. Then
course,
we send Makayla. Then we send Makayla.
all
She's
the
sweet and
love.
gentle.
Oh,
Yes, yes. And I try to go towards facts. So, Michelle, you were talking about how the internet gets in and people think they have this, that, and the other thing. I really think that the conversation of tulpas, we've heard of Slenderman. I mean, my kids are all over the YouTubes. So,
yeah,
Slenderman, and the most recent one I heard is Mimics. Now,
yes.
Mhm.
Mimics didn't come around until the last couple of years. And I'm here and I'm reading and I'm looking at all of the identifications of a mimic. And I'm like, well, that's just something I've known about for 20 years, but called it something else. Let's call a spade a spade. And when we put things out there like Slenderman and we get people to believe these Reddit stories, we're giving it energy, and the collective energy that we have all given it has now manifested an entity of our own doing. So
Yeah.
where your belief goes, the truth flows. So if you're going to believe it that hard, it's going to become true.
And it's really hard though, this day and age because there's so much feeding these things online
Mhm.
that it's hard for these entities not to grow and be fed from everything online. It's just it's crazy out there. It's just crazy.
Yeah. I mean, when we talk about spiritual warfare, I mean, we're hot and heavy in it. And,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and everything is getting fed. And I have noticed even going around and doing the stuff that I do, that the negative area part of it is actually gotten stronger, which is really crazy because now you're getting a lot of things you normally wouldn't see, doppelgangers,
Yep.
things mimicking other people and stuff like that. And you're sitting back going, okay, wait a minute, what is feeding all this and why is the negative starting to outgrow that, positive energy? And again, like you said, everything being reborn in different names and being recreated is causing some of this. Um, before we take off tonight, just one more time, if you guys could let everybody know where they can find you and if they want to reach out to you, what is the one place that they could actually go to make sure somebody can get a hold of them?
I would probably say our Good Witches page. So we have the Good Witches Cottage Facebook page. That is our business page. And if you put a message through on that page, all three of us get a notification for it. So I think that would probably be the most, general hub location that all of us could be reached at one space.
Yep.
Mhm.
But we each have our own Facebook pages.
Yeah.
But the best way to get us is at the Good Witches Cottage page. Definitely.
Yeah, we definitely want to make it simple for them to find you, and then you guys can always guide, them in a different direction if need be. I want to thank you guys for being on here. I want to thank you for being very honest. Again, when I say it was refreshing, I'm not just repeating myself, it actually really was. And I also want to thank you for, letting people know you're going to have the good, the bad, and the ugly. And between you three, you guys are going to call that crap out, and then you'll go to the healing.
Yeah.
Thank you again for joining me tonight. Thank you for everybody who is listening and all the ones that have said hello. I am sending you guys all a big hello. And then until next time, I will see you in the dark.